Hello everyone, it's Chris at Garage Times. Thanks for checking the channel out. Thanks for coming back if you're returning. Today I'm just talking about bypassing your starter solenoid and going right to the starter, and ultimately this little switch here. Like I'll come across things and I'll be like, while doing them or seeing other people do them, and then it'll just be like, that's probably a pretty good video for a beginner for electrical diagnosis for no starts on just about any piece of equipment, and including vehicles or whatever, lawnmowers. But your newer vehicles, everything's different, so it just kind of depends on what your wiring diagram shows or what you know about the vehicle. But on a lot of vehicles you could get by with diagnosing whether your starter's bad or not. But essentially here we just these side mount battery posts here like this, I like getting those needle noses on those side mounts, because it gets a real nice bite, and then I connect like jumper cables to that, because otherwise you try putting these, it doesn't matter what the jumper cables are, it just seems like they don't grab onto those little they're really small diameter heads. I think they're like a 7 or 8 millimeter. But anyways, so like in this case I have my hot battery side connected to my red hot battery cable, negative to the negative, and then on the other side I have this switch, right? This switch is basically gonna allow me to make an open in this circuit. So I'm gonna take the switch and I'm gonna connect it, one end of that switch, because there's 2 wires that come out of it, just like a light switch. I'm gonna connect it to my hot. I'm making an open circuit in the hot side of this wiring circuit. So, and that other wire, I'm taking it all the way over to the motor terminal on the starter. There. The negative cable is going to be to the frame there of the starter. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, that's the hot side of the battery is going to be connected to the hot side of this switch, right? I'm just making an open with that switch, and that other wire that's currently open because I'm not depressing this is going over to the motor terminal of your starter. So on a lot of these you'll have a starter solenoid on all of them that will have like a battery positive terminal, which would be your heavy battery cable coming down to the starter solenoid, and then you'll have a heavy cable from the motor solenoid, or I'm sorry, from that starter solenoid going to your motor terminal. And basically that starter solenoid allows an open until you try to start your vehicle and engage the ignition. When you engage the ignition, there's a small terminal on the starter solenoid, small spade terminal light called the S terminal. So that's where it's getting its directive to close the gap, close that solenoid, and then allow the heavy battery voltage to flow through that solenoid by using a small voltage with your ignition wiring setup. But so let's say you've done that, your starter solenoid, and you got power to it, but the starter solenoid's not engaging, you're just not sure, do you go buy a $350 or $400 starter? Well, this is what you do. You just bypass the starter solenoid altogether and just wire it like this. Get one of these switches. These are quite phenomenal on Amazon or wherever, part store. And it even has this little light. It lets you know, like, hey, you're good to go. You got power. Everything's connected. And all you got to do is depress the switch and close the open circuit. So that's what we're going to do. Let's see if the starter's good. Oh, there you go. And I'm just kind of pulsating it there so it doesn't fall. I don't have somebody to hold the camera. So there you go. You would know then, hey, my starter's potentially good. It won't work with the starter solenoid setup that you have, and but then you could bypass it and be like, hey, this is good. So this starter's not the problem. It could be the starter solenoid or wiring to the starter solenoid or something else, but at least you could rule out that issue. So you guys all have a good one, and I will get some more videos to you. It's been super busy between work and the concrete stuff that I've been doing. I'm going to do some repairs to a 4-wheeler and some CV axle work on the rear end of a 05, I think it's a 03 or 05 Polaris Sportsman. So Well, until then, you guys have a good one. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. For 20 bucks, I mean, this is an awesome tool to have, you know what I mean? And that's for 12 volt systems. They said that this is heavy duty, but again, 12 volt systems, 24 volt systems could potentially require heavier wiring without a doubt, depending on the amperage and stuff like that. And especially if you're bypassing, you know, you're using direct battery voltage and you're using it to run through the, even though this is heavy duty, instead of running through that starter solenoid, you know, I think, you know what, I think you're going to be good, especially if you just pulsate it a little bit to see if she runs. And I think I might be able to, let me just run it longer here. I mean, that's all you need to know, you know. If it works like that, hooked up, you're good to go. So you guys have a good one and have a blast, and thanks for watching. See you guys later. One last thing before I let you go is the most common cause of electrical issues by far are most often related to bad connections for your battery or just bad battery voltage. So when you're doing whatever you're doing, save yourself a lot of headaches and just verify that you have good battery voltage. And I have people that I've talked to numerous times that say, hey, I got a starter problem, and it turns out, you know, hey, no, it's a battery problem. Or I got, you know, something going on and I just can't get this to work. And it comes down to, more often than not, battery or loose connections, stuff like that. So it is paramount. Make sure you got 12.6, 12.7, right around there, battery voltage. Otherwise, you know, you might be just chasing your tail out there. So, and troubleshooting is you have to rule all these different things out, and that's like the first thing you want to do. So it's super basic, and that's it. See you guys later.